Hey guys, what's happening? It is so good to be here. I look forward every week to spending some time with you guys. I just really enjoy our time together. So, welcome to the program. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad I'm here. I wanted to tell you a little bit about just before we get started. As you know, we have bought a farm in Alabama, and one of the things we have on this farm are some grapevines and if you're not from the southeastern United States, you may not understand or you may not know what this variety of grape is, but it's called a muscadine. And actually, here it's called a muscadine. They call it a muscadine, but it's spelled muscadine. It's a purple grape, and it makes you can make jelly or wine with it. We also have a grape called a scuppernong, which is the sister to the muscadine, and it's a white grape. So it makes a white jelly or wine or whatever. So I thought I would share with you guys. We bottled some wine and bottled it last night. So this is the scuppernong variety. It's the white grapevine or the white. Oh, get in the camera. The white grape. Try to get it where you can see the wine itself. But anyway, we bottled some wine, so it's kind of exciting to have that coming off of our own vines. So it's the fruit of the vine, so to speak. So we've got that going on, and so tonight, before we kind of get all kicked off, I want to go ahead and share with you about this voting question, shareholder voting question. It really came from last week's live stream. Somebody asked a question about, should I vote? Should I not vote? So I thought it would be good to kind of walk through that process tonight, and then, see, I'll let you, determine whether you should or you shouldn't. And it's certainly, it's kind of like everything related to voting. Your voice is only heard if you vote. But it just depends on how many voices you have, how many shares do you have as to whether it might be meaningful to you or not. So let me go ahead and do this. That looks good. Shareholder voting. What do I get to vote on as a shareholder? So let's kind of walk through that. So first of all, I went ahead and did a couple today so that I could kind of take some screenshots of what happened. So the first one I had was T. Rowe Price. Their annual meeting is May the 7th. And basically, I just clicked on where it said vote now. You could either log in to your Fidelity account, or you can call, or you can it just says vote by May 6th. So your vote just has to be in the day before the annual meeting. But anyway, I clicked on that vote now, and there's basically a few things that you get to vote on, and this is a pretty clean one. So I'll share with you this. When you click on that, you're going to get the notice of the annual meeting and the proxy statement. Now, the proxy statement has a lot of information in it. If you've never read one of those, it's actually longer many times than the annual report. So there's a lot of stuff in there about the company, about the board, about its risk management practices, about its compensation package, about the compensation of its executives. So there's a lot of information in the proxy statement itself. To be honest with you, I don't read a lot of that. There's just not a lot in there that I'm that concerned about. So, but it does tell you when the annual meeting is as well, and that's kind of important. But it also showed it on that first screen. So then you come over here. Maybe I should try to make this a little bit bigger. Can you guys see that better? Nod your head if you can. Okay, notice of the annual meeting. And for T. Rowe Price, there's really three things that we got to vote on this year. The first one was electing the board, and that will be for every company that you vote for. You will get to vote individually for every director of every board of directors member. And then the company will tell you whether they are recommending that you vote for something or against something. So in this case, T. Rowe Price says, hey, vote for everything. So the second thing is they want us to approve the compensation paid to the named executive officers. That's pretty common. Every company will allow you to vote on that. And then thirdly, they want to ratify the appointment of their auditor, which in this case is KPMG, and that's their independent auditor. So that's actually the minimum that you would vote on as a shareholder. You would get to vote on the board of directors, compensation package, and the auditors. So that was a pretty clean one with T. Rowe Price. So there was another one in my inbox, and I will eventually get there. It is anyway, once I did my voting, it came back and it said, "Hey, thanks for voting," and it registered me as voted. So, and if I was dyslexic, I would say they vetoed me, but it's actually voted. So, all right. So the next one was RTX Corporation. Annual meeting is on May the 2nd. So they sent out the proxy on March the 5th. Anyway, so I got another, vote now button. So that's really what I clicked on. Now let me get this where you guys can see it. The announcement over here shows that there's a, annual meeting of shareholders. It's a virtual meeting. And then it shows the agenda. The agenda has 7 items on it. All of those 7 items are things that shareholders need to vote on. So for RTX, they have the election. Oh, let me just go to this side. It's easier to read. So this is the agenda. They had the election of the directors, right? So every company that you go into to place a vote, you will get to vote on individually every director. And they recommend that you vote for the directors, obviously, or they wouldn't put that slate up. Then the second one is an advisory vote to approve executive compensation, just like T. Rowe Price. Remember, there's 3 things that are required. And so that's the second one. The third one is that they have selected PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers, as their auditor. So they are recommending that you vote for that. Then RTX has some additional proposals, and this is what you'll see sometimes. So RTX is putting forward an amendment to its long-term incentive plan. I read through that. It was very minor stuff, and they want you to vote for that. The last 3 are actually shareholder proposals. So I'm not really sure what the rules are regarding that, but certain shareholders can put forth shareholder proposals that would be voted on by the shareholders. So some share owner proposed that there be a lobbying transparency report. The company is recommending that you vote against that. And then the share owner proposal requesting a report on full value chain emissions reduction plan. And then the company says, hey, vote against that. And then there's also one requesting a human rights impact assessment. The company is voting or recommending that we vote against that. So anyway, you get to decide that all of these items that are on the proxy or that are on the ballot are also in the proxy. There's a lot of information about each one of these proposals. If it's something that you care about, you can actually read through that and see what those proposals are and decide for yourself. Do I vote for it or against it? And you know where the company sits on that. So I then voted my RTX shares and everything was lovely. So I think the real question at hand is, should you vote? And, and so there's really 2 questions here. If there's an option to have to buy shares in a company that are voting and non-voting, which one should I buy? And from my perspective, with the amount of shares that I buy, 100 shares out of 300 million shares is really not going to sway anything. So I would typically go to whichever one has the lower price because you get the same percentage of ownership regardless. So, if it's Google, for instance, GOOG is non-voting, GOOGL is voting. So you can pick really which one you want. If you want to vote your shares, pick GOOGL and that ticker symbol, and you'll get to vote those shares. So I would say it really is a very personal decision. I'm not for it or against it. If you want to vote your shares, that's fantastic. I think that's being a good, steward of your shares. If you don't want to vote your shares, I'm fine with that too, because at the end of the day, if you got 5 shares, 500 shares, it's probably not going to move the needle. So, but it does help you keep up with what's going on and what the issues are with your company, especially if there's some outside influence from activist shareholders, what kind of proposals they're putting in. So anyway, those are my thoughts on that. And it was a quick one this week. So anyway, let's go and see who's here. Let me go back to the top here. So, all right, Pat is here. And yeah, so, how important is it to vote? I don't think it's that important. I would say it's not important individually, but collectively it can turn into something that's important. So if every shareholder decided not to vote, then there wouldn't be a majority of votes out there for the company to make a move. So I would say, from a collective perspective, it's good stewardship to vote your shares. But if you choose not to, I wouldn't lose any sleep over it. Happy April Fool's Day. Thanks, Shaping. It's good to see you tonight on the live stream. I'm really not seeing you, but I see your avatar here. And yeah, April Fool's Day. Isn't that really cool? I tend to shy away from having April Fool's videos. And the reason I do that, so there's nothing in this video tonight that's going to be April Fool's. I'm not going to fool you guys with anything. Why is that? It's because some people don't watch these on April Fool's. Sometimes it's on, a day later, a week later. And so it kind of loses its novelty when it's not on April Fool's Day. So I tend to stay away from that on these videos. But hopefully you guys have had a good day with some April Fool's stuff. So. Oh man, we've got Mr. Income in the house. Fenders 53. Institutions with huge positions drive the outcome, but it's your right to vote. If you don't, then don't complain about the outcome. Same as a political election, in my opinion. Yeah, I think that's exactly right. That's kind of where I fall on it. Is we have the right, and it's good stewardship to vote. But if you don't, then that's your choice. Kevin Mendoza is in the house. Yeah, thanks, my friend, for reminding us to smash the like button. And I appreciate that, buddy. Michael Swami is in the house. Good to see you, man. Tutomi is here. Kenji is here. It's good to see you, buddy. And yes, 10% plus. I think this is actually, I think it's actually 15. I think it's a 15% alcohol content. So it's been a fascinating process. As you guys know, I love learning new things. And so just the science behind how you go from grapes to wine is really just fascinating to me. Kevin Rayberg slipped in almost silently. Yes, sir. I see that. My buddy Russ is in the house. He says, this is good. I appreciate it. I vote that everyone gently press the like button. I appreciate that, my friend. Jim Betts, I just had flashbacks of combing grapes in my brother's vineyard in Pennsylvania. Yeah, especially if you get the rats in the hair, never mind. So, yeah, so that's cool, man. What kind of grapes did you guys comb? Up there, they probably have some like Concord grapes and stuff like that. But these muscadines and scuppernongs evidently only grow in the southeastern United States. So you can't get them anywhere else. Can't get them to grow anywhere else. The climate is just not right for it. So, and let me tell you, these things grow like crazy. They are like a weed. They will just grow and grow and grow. So I spent a lot of time this winter pruning them back because they for years had just been let go. And so that was a big project I had during the winter, was to prune those things back. And it was a big project. So we'll see if I actually killed them or not this year. Hopefully not. Greg's here from Southern California. That's quite a ways from Alabama, my friend. I am glad you are here. Slammer 6789. Hey, too busy last week, but I'm here now, and that is awesome, man. I am so glad you made it. So let's see here. So Russ is not hanging out, but he's going to stop and say hi. That's great, my friend. I appreciate you doing that. Eli is in the house. Welcome, Eli. And let's see. Okay, let's go for our first question. Now, before I go there, if you guys are in the Discord, if you're not in my Discord, you can find a link to it in the notes to this video. If you're not in the Discord, consider joining us. We have a lot of good discussions there. I'm in there a lot. Mr. Income is in there. There's just Eli is in there. Michael Swami's in there. Greg's in there. It's just I'm going to stop naming people because I'm going to leave somebody out. Shaping is in there. And so anyway, there's a lot of us in there. And we're talking about stocks. We're talking about investments. We're talking about approaches. We're talking about portfolios. So there's a lot of good information that's there. And one of the things that was suggested by my friend Ex-Dividend Dad is to add a questions tab in there that I can actually use and then actually have a section or let's say a segment of this broadcast that would be, about those questions. So, the original thought was that it would just be ask me anything or something like that, but now I'm thinking I'm going to rename that. So if you're not in the Discord, join it and look for the question, big red question mark, because I'm actually going to rename it, I think. And you guys let me know if you think this is funny or if you think it's just kind of stupid. But either way, let me know what you think. I'm thinking of calling it Questions for Kevin. And the questions would be KWESTIONS. Questions for Kevin. How does that? So let me know if you think that's too cute and therefore stupid, or if that sounds good to you. So I kind of deviated from there because I see a really good question by Tutomi. Tutomi is asking, do you guys know what happened to the medical sector after hours? Big drop, specifically ETFs. And what I heard, Tutomi, was that Medicaid, I guess, finalized the pricing and it didn't really change much. So there's not going to be much growth in that area for those human services or those medical services or something. I forget the term for it. And so it's going to be ones like United Health, Humana, CVS, one that is just not coming up in my head, but those guys took a beating, and I think Humana was the worst. It went down maybe 10% after hours. United Health went down about 5% after hours. I think CVS was down 7% after hours. So it was a big announcement, and we'll see what tomorrow brings. Maybe it was a little bit of fear, right? And then may bounce back a little bit tomorrow. But we'll just have to see. So that's what I understand, Tutomi. I didn't go into depth with it because I really don't own any of those companies. But I did see that and actually put a couple of pictures out in the Discord with information about that. So Michael says he received 2 notices that had a management slate and a dissident slate. I voted for Disney's proposal, Piltzer, I think, but I can't recall now the other. It'll come to me. I'm not really sure what that's talking about. Is that talking about the Disney activist fight on the board? I haven't looked into that a lot because I don't own Disney. But boy, are they so distracted or what? I mean, Disney could be such a great company, but they are so distracted with political and activist things that it just really doesn't entice me to invest in them, because it seems like they're more focused outside the company than they are on the company. So maybe, Michael, that's what you were talking about there. If not, forget everything I just said. Let's see here. Fast Eddie, welcome to the program, my friend. Fast Eddie never votes, and that is certainly your right. You can vote or not vote, and it is certainly fine either way. So let's see what Jim's got to say here. I think it had to do with Medicare Advantage plans will only be getting a 3.7% payment increase into 2025. Yeah, that's more specific than information I had. In 2025, they were expecting more. So CVS, UNH, Humana, and others dropped about 10%. Yeah, that is exactly what I saw. Kevin Mendoza. Kevin, I'm building a huge dividend snowball. I now have over 100 individual companies. Wow, that's a lot of companies, man. I at one time had 40 something companies, and just the way my process is, you guys know what I do. I mean, I go through and every quarter I want to listen to the earnings call. I want to see what's happening, what's new, and I actually document all of that. So to do that, I couldn't imagine doing that with 100 companies. But man, if that works for you, that is certainly, you're certainly diversified. I wouldn't be able to handle just my process with that. That's all. So hopefully that's good for you, and hopefully you got that snowball building, and it's working out for you. That is great, man. So to Tommy, thank you, Jim Betts. So let's see. Okay, Suzuki Man 89 says he still hasn't voted on PKG, and that's okay. And they make it so easy now. All you have to do is click that little yellow button. It brings up the vote. You just click your answers and you submit, and you're done. It took me like 2 minutes to do it. So if you're worried about that, it's not a big deal. So, but in the old days, we used to have to walk uphill to school both ways in the snow. No, in the old days, you got it in the mail and you had to fill it out and send it back in. So, this is a lot better in the days of the internet. Kevin Mendoza, I enjoy voting on over 100 companies. I bet you too, my friend. That's if it takes 2 minutes for each one, then that's 200 minutes of your life you'll never get back. Oh my goodness. Still waiting for your chicken video. Yes, I'm waiting too. I thought about that today, and I was too busy with this to deal with that. But it's coming soon, my friend. It is coming. Yeah, 30 proof. Yeah, that's right. It's pretty stout, my friend. So yeah, it is what it is, right? And it has to do with how much sugar you put in, right? And so, based on the recipe that we've been given, that is the amount of sugar that goes into this product. And so the way it works is the yeast actually breaks the sugars down and changes it to alcohol. So by the time the fermentation process is done, there are no sugars left. It is only alcohol and just juice itself. So anyway, it's really kind of fun. Let's see here. Jim says he smashed the like button. Don't disappoint or I'll take it back. I mean, it don't test me, he says. All right. Well, hopefully I'm not testing you, but if I am, just let me know. I'll try to figure it out. Fast Eddie says he grew up in Concord grape area and he ate a lot of grape pie. That's good. I mean, I love grapes, especially I tell you what, these Scuppernong grapes, this white muscadine, my wife loves those grapes. When they're actually in season, we've picked them and put them in the freezer. But when they are in season, she loves to just eat those grapes. They do have some pretty big seeds in them, so you have to kind of work through that, but boy, are they good. Michael says Concord grapes are his favorite. That's awesome. All right, Shaping. Hey, Kevin, can you pin a comment in the chat with a Discord invite link? Yes, I can do that, I think, but I will have to I will do that after the broadcast because my fear is that I will get off into Never Never Land and not be able to come back to you guys. So I will. I'll do that after the program. That's a good suggestion. As a matter of fact, I will do that from here on out. So Fast Eddie says he lives in Texas now and he's never seen them. So yeah, I think it's a southeast thing. Some from like Mississippi through northern Florida into Georgia. So it's a very small area of the country that can actually grow these things. So and they grow heartily here. They even grow wild in certain places. The ones here on the farm are actually in a row, but they can grow wild. Let's see. Concord grapes to start. This is Jim. The Welch's factory was in his town of Northeast Pennsylvania. That's great. So Northeast. Yes, that's over by New York. I've been there a few times. Then he tilled some of the Concords and went with Catawba grapes that paid more. That makes sense. So Michael lives in Texas. It's a couple of Texas guys tonight. That is good. Let's see. So Fast Eddie, got some bad weather coming through. Be safe, my friend. And, hopefully everything will work out for you. Oh, cool. So Michael, you grew up in the mountains of North Carolina. We used to live in North Carolina, in the mountains of North Carolina. So it'd be interesting to kind of compare notes there. And we moved from the mountains of North Carolina here to Alabama. So Slammer 6789 says that's corny. And that is probably true, my friend. But Greg says it's cool. So, we do have that going for us. Let's see. Jim, brother had grapes that had been producing for almost a century. I tell you what, these things are amazing. One little tidbit, if you ever grow grapes, is that grapes will only produce grapes on new growth. So if you have if you don't prune your grapevines, and they grow and they grow and they grow, all of the old vines, none of the old vines will produce any grapes. It's only the new vines for that year that will actually produce grapes. That's why it's important to prune the grapes. And I had to do several years worth of pruning this winter. So is 3M down to spin off? I don't own any at this time. Well, so Steve, first of all, welcome to the program. I haven't seen your name in here tonight. So it's good to see you, my friend. And my understanding is that 3M has, after hours, announced a settlement to one of its lawsuits. It's not the one with the earplugs. It's the one with the environmental disaster. I forget the name of it, but it's the environmental lawsuit. I think it was a little over $10 billion. Actually, my buddy, Mr. Income, posted that in the Discord. So if you're not a part of the Discord, please join us in there. We do talk about some really substantive stuff in there. So that's what it is. It was a pretty big settlement, and I'm sure that investors didn't like the size of it. It ate away some of the equity of the company. But at the end of the day, that part of the unrest, or that part of the uncertainty around the stock has been kind of made certain. And so now we're all waiting on the infamous earplugs. I think that's going to be the worst of the lawsuits that are out there. So Tutomi, does anyone know if 3M will keep the dividend or they will cut? Can't find anything online. They have split today. I didn't know 3M was splitting, but I'm obviously don't own 3M. I just don't know enough about it, whether it's split or not. But I didn't hear that it had split. But yeah, they. So will they keep their dividend or not? It really depends on where this earplug settlement goes. I really am leery of whether they are going to be able to keep the dividend in its current form. Now, whether they still have a dividend or not, I can't say. But I think maybe they're going to reduce it. Um, but we won't know that until they actually get some kind of clarity around the lawsuit. So just my thoughts. Yeah. So grapes are century old, aren't they called raisins? That's a great one, Fast Eddie. So I'm not even sure they're raisins. They're probably mold, or they're back to dirt. Maybe, I don't know. I think he meant the vines, but hey, that's okay. Oh, okay. So Jim is talking about how many shares, how many individual holdings he had. He had 125 at one point, now 40. He said 40 is perfect for him. I think you'll find with duplicates, et cetera, you'll trim that down. So yeah, I think that's right. I think, but it's fun. I mean, what matters is that you're in the game. And so if having, 100 stocks motivates you and keeps you in the game, then by all means have 100 stocks. I think that's fantastic. That's what we want to do here is we want to encourage people to stay in the game and do the things that are going to cause you to be interested in your portfolio, because that's what's going to keep you in the game, my friend. Jacob, welcome to the program, Jacob. He said he's driving and he had to wait to check in. He said, yeah, we don't like it when you're driving down the road and you're trying to use your phone and stuff like that. So I'm glad you stayed safe, my friend. Okay, so this is a good question. Have I ever been to an actual shareholders meeting for any of my holdings? And the answer is yes. And it was the company that I worked for. So maybe that doesn't count, but I actually have been to a shareholder meeting. It was a physical, in-person, several of them actually. And, so it was basically sometimes they were non-events, sometimes there were activists there. And, there was lots of security and you had to go through metal detectors to get in. It was pretty... It's almost like getting on an airplane, getting into these shareholder meetings. But it sounds like most of them are going to, virtual meetings. So, and I think that makes sense because there's really not a lot that goes on there other than voting. It's, and what's that called? Propaganda. There's really not a lot that goes on there. Michael says he lets Chat GPT cast all his votes, and that's probably not a bad plan. So here we got Pat says, if the dividend is stable, but the stock is way up, how do you decide if or when to sell? Boy, that's a great question. That should go in the questions for Kevin. So for me, it has to do with the business. It has less to do with the yield. So if the dividend is stable, that means, it's, I guess staying the same, but then the stock is way up. That means the yield is down. And I don't really focus on the yield so much. And I do love dividends and I love dividend investing because, and I know that there's a lot of people out there that say, oh, dividend investing is stupid because, you're getting forced to take distributions and you're paying tax on those distributions. And I would say that there's some offsets to that. One of those is that the company treats its shareholders differently when it pays a dividend. It treats them more as partners and just in the way they think about shareholders. And secondly, there's a concept out there that's called agency. And that agency is when a management team decides that they're going to do things that benefit them more than anything else. So they will actually use the company's money to either, buy back shares or buy individual businesses or, incentive plans that will actually benefit them personally, that's considered an agency relationship. And with dividends coming out of that, there is less chance of the company actually doing that. They have to run the business a little bit tighter. And so I love that part of dividend investing. So if the dividend is stable, sorry, Pat, I kind of got off on a tangent there. If it's stable, but the stock is way up, how do you decide if or when to sell? If I believe that the stock is 25 to 30% overvalued, meaning that there's a lot of sentiment in the market and it's really not worth what it's trading at, that's when I begin to think about paring some of it back. I may not actually sell it all, but I may pare some of it back. So I will if it gets way overvalued, I'll shrink my position a bit. If it goes back to fair value, I'll go back into that normal weighting, and then if it goes below fair value, I will go above my normal weighting. So that's kind of the way I do it. It's more like an accordion to me instead of a hatchet kind of thing. So that's just the way I do it. Doesn't mean it's the right way. It just means that's the way I do it. So how do I decide? If I look at that and I say, you know what, it's overvalued. I don't know where they're getting that, and I may unload a few shares, but I don't jerk it around a lot. So it's kind of boring actually. Oh, Michael, Asheville. I lived an hour from Asheville. Have you ever heard of the town of Highlands? That's where we were. I've sold that house now. But that's where we were, Highlands, North Carolina. Matter of fact, if you look back at some of my older videos, you'll see, the background is a wood ceiling and things like that. That was our house there in Highlands. So, yeah, great, man. That's good to know. Jim, you can only use metal wire, last I knew, for grapes. That is true. It's a galvanized wire. The biggest fear is lightning that will take out an entire row. I hadn't thought about that. That's a good point. Yeah, I've got actually one of the rows of grapes out there has a deteriorating trellis, they call it. And back in the day, this must have been the original grapevine that they had. It looked like a clothesline, with the T. It was like a board going across and then down. And then it has like a fence laid across the top, and then the grapes are all on there. Well, that has collapsed. And so I've got to get in there, and I now have the wire to do this and the things to hold it in the posts. The posts are in the ground. I just need to run the wire. But now I've got to lift that up with this new wire. So, yeah, I didn't think about the lightning aspect of that. So, man, we did have a lightning strike here about 2 weeks ago. And it was so close. And I told my wife, I said, we probably ought to go out and check the chickens in a little bit. There might be some fried chicken laying out there because it was that close. Well, I did go outside a little bit later, and a house that we have a few acres here. So, but there's a subdivision over to my left. And there was a house that got struck by lightning and burned down. So that was kind of scary. So lightning is a very real thing around here. So Jim says, wow, what else can you learn about dividends, bees, and grapes? Yeah. No, where else can you learn? That's right. I bring a lot of stuff to the table, Jim. What can I say? So was 3M a split or a spinoff? I do have in the back of my mind a recollection of there being some part of the business that was being split off from 3M. We will go there here in just a few minutes. I'll look it up on like Simply Safe and see what they say about it. I just don't know enough because I really don't pay much attention to 3M. It's not something that excites me. So, but yeah, so 3M, I'll keep that in here. Steel trap, so I won't forget. And maybe some others have answered it. They have spinoff of the healthcare sector. Okay, so their healthcare piece is being spun off, evidently. 3M completes spinoff of Solventum. Okay, so it's a spinoff, not a split off. So that means you get difference between a spit off. Maybe that's what we should do, is have a spit off. No, the difference between a spin-off and a split off is the spin-off will actually give every shareholder shares of the spun off company, whereas a split off, you get to decide whether you're going to keep the shares of the original company or trade them for the new company shares or some combination thereof. And there's usually a premium if you go to the new company. So that's the biggest difference there. And we didn't think about that really until who was it? Johnson and Johnson did a split off, and it was like everybody was their minds were blown because they were like, oh, I'm going to get some shares of this new company, and it didn't happen. So Kenji says, I don't think I've welcomed you, my friend. Welcome to the program. How many acres do you have down there? I have a total of about 14. So it's not huge. It's not like I've got this, I'm retired, man. I don't want to have this huge, responsibility, but it is enough for me to do some things, to learn some things. I have peach trees, apple trees, fig trees, persimmon trees, grapes, chickens. I've got actually broilers out on the pasture now that'll be ready for processing in about 4 weeks. So yeah, we got egg layer chickens as well as what I call meat chickens. So yeah, we got a lot of stuff going on. A lot of things happening here on the farm. Berkshire Hathaway meetings are a Woodstock for investing geeks. Yeah, that's true. I have never, maybe I shouldn't admit this live and on the air, but I have never listened to a complete Berkshire annual meeting. I usually wait for the pundits to kind of pick out the cool stuff that's said there, and I'll watch that, the condensed version. But I've never really just sat through a whole thing. I know my buddy Russ, I don't think he's still on, but I know he has. He's really more of a nerd than me, and I think he's actually read every annual meeting document that was put out for Berkshire. And my understanding is he has gone back and is starting that process again. So he just can't get enough. He just cannot get enough. So Jim says they won't let me into Discord for some reason. Maybe there's some background checks that are coming back on you, Jim. I'm not really sure. No, contact me somehow, Jim, and let's get that figured out, because I'd love to have you in there. I think that would be awesome. We'll get it figured out, man. Just get in touch with me. Maybe we start here on just some notes, maybe to this video or something, and then we can try to figure out how to get you in there. Philip, hi from New Zealand at work, so we'll watch later. Hey, fantastic, Philip. Great to have you, my friend. That's a long way away from here. Oh yeah, Michael, he's absolutely heard of Highlands. There are some really cold lakes and rivers near there. Yes, there are. It's a great place to fish, to golf. It is I guess they call it a resort town. So it was a blast. We loved it there, but we ended up moving to Alabama to be closer to family. So it just worked out well for us. All right, thoughts on CSL stock. It's naturally became my second largest holding. That's probably organically, and hit a new all-time high today. I don't know if I should trim this quality stock. Yeah, let's take a look at that, because I haven't looked at CSL for probably about 6 months. But it is a stock that I did like. It was on my watch list. But as you know, I was trying to get the number of holdings that I had down, and therefore did not purchase CSL. But just for grins, we will take a look at, let me get it set up here. share the screen window there. Share. There we go. That's Carlisle Industries, I think. So let's take a look at Carlisle. Let me find it here. I've got 3 screens going, and sometimes I get a little lost. So you'll have to bear with me. So let's take a look at it on Simply Safe. Wow. It's like it's frozen. Let's see if we can get to it on Fast Graphs. There we go. We got something more rolling here. Yeah, Carlisle Companies, and it is a really great company. So yeah, good, nice job. Wow, look at that spike. My goodness, it has gone from just a few months ago was 250, and now it is almost 400. And you got to ask yourself why. I mean, I would take a look at that if I were you and determine if there is a business reason for that. I do see here, I mean, if you look at this, I'm going to narrow this down to maybe 10 years. So you do see here, I think you can see that the forward earnings are growing. And so there is a forecast for them to grow their earnings quite a bit. Yeah. So, and then, it also says that they typically trade for a higher PE ratio than 15, which would be 20.73. You can see that here. So if it's 20.73 in 2026, based on the forecasted earnings, it's a $500 stock. So, I don't know that I would sell it at this point, because it does have an upward trajectory. I think there's some validation around that. Is it a little overpriced? Probably, but I don't know that I would get rid of it. That to me, that would be a stock that I would hold for quite a while, because I mean, take a look at that. That looks good. Let me see if there's any forecasting data out there. That's not very helpful. So we'll just look at that. But that's what I would do. So, I mean, earnings are going to catch up with this thing in almost no time, less than a year. So, will it come back down? Maybe it might come back down, but if it does, I would add some more. So, that's the way I would do it. I don't trade around very much, and when you find something, you got a great deal on it. I'm assuming, and man, I would hold it. That's what I would do. I don't know. What do you guys think? Does that sound reasonable? Is that what you guys would do? Now, I know my friend Shaping here, he does like to trade around a bit. And so, if you wanted to sell it now and see if it came back down, I think that's certainly fine. That's not my style of investing. I like to buy companies at what I believe are fair prices. And when they run up, I just leave them alone. And I think, who is it? Peter Lynch said something about don't cut your flowers and fertilize your weeds. So a lot of times we want to sell off the ones that are making money and try to keep and nurture the ones we're losing money on, because eventually they will come back in theory. But sometimes we just got to sell the losers and let the winners run. That's the way I kind of look at it. What do you guys think? Is that reasonable? Let's see, Michael, with the chickens, wouldn't it be a yeah, exactly. That's one of the reasons I'm scared to do videos out there, is there's quite a bit of that out there. So your thoughts on AbbVie? Is it overvalued? I used to own AbbVie, Pat, and I bought it when it's like 105, 110, something like that. I think it's now in the 170s. Here, I can get this off the screen here. It's in the 170s now, if my memory's right. And so, is it overvalued? I think it's not something that I'm going to be entering into. I know that Humira is not coming down as fast as they thought. So that's a good thing. And then also some of these other drugs like Skyrizi, and I'm forgetting the other one off the top of my head, but there's another one that is doing well. And so, it's really given investors a lot more confidence. So it's probably fairly valued, in my opinion, but it's not something that I'm getting into at this point. So, Lucas, welcome, my friend. And it's good to have you in the broadcast. I haven't seen you in a while, so it's good to see you, my friend. Buying any Starbucks? I am not. I did own Starbucks, but I was doing it really as an experiment at one time, and I ended up making money on it. But it is, there's some diehard Starbucks people. So anytime I say anything about Starbucks, I always get comments like, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about," and which is fine. I most of the time don't, um, but Starbucks is. I love Starbucks coffee. We don't have a Starbucks near us, so I don't partake in Starbucks as much as I used to. But it's got a great product. It's got a great brand. It is pretty saturated, I think, in the U.S., and it needs some growth area. And I would love to see China kind of open up for Starbucks. If that's the case, then yeah, I would think that it might do very well. And now might be the time to buy it when we don't have that certainty around that. But for me, it's just not the right investment for my portfolio. So no, I'm not going to be buying any Starbucks. I know my buddy Ryan loves it. He has a lot of Starbucks in his portfolio, which is great, and I think he's making some good money on it. Any new stock you're thinking of adding to your portfolio? I'll tell you what. Let's go take a look. Figure out how to do this. Oh, I know how to do it. I'm going to try to take you with me to Morningstar. Give me just a second here. And I actually have a watch list in there that I will go to. This is cool. All right, I'll share it with you guys now. Let's do that. This is my watch list. I will do, how do I do that? There we go. That makes it too small, but I'll try to make it a little bigger here. How's that sound? Let me take Tutomi's comment off of here. There we go. Okay, this is my watch list. ASML, and let me do this. This is one of the cool things about Morningstar's portfolio manager is they have a valuation for a lot of stocks. And so one of the things that I look at is the valuation. And so when I look at things like PKG, it doesn't mean that PKG, Packaging Corp of America, is a bad stock. But according to Morningstar, it's really overvalued. And, but I will say this, they thought it was overvalued about 6 months ago, and it has probably gone up like 30%. So, I guess value is what is in the eye of the beholder. So then we have ASML is another one, but it's also, in my opinion, not in my opinion, in Morningstar's opinion, highly overvalued. Snap-on is overvalued. Then we have Carlisle. Remember, I said I did take a look at it. I do like the company, but it appears to be a little bit overvalued. But they have a Q beside this, and that just means that they don't actually cover the stock. If there's not a Q, there are actually analysts at Morningstar who are determining a fair value based on an objective analysis of the company. So the only one in here that doesn't have that is Carlisle, but I do like Carlisle a lot. I like their product. I like what they do, and if we could get that price down a little bit, I might even consider it. So John Deere, Procter and Gamble, Landstar was one that I was looking at one point. MasterCard, S&P Global, ADP, Corning, and Honeywell. But right now I am not looking at adding any of those to the portfolio. I'm going to pull this up for you guys. This is kind of off on the fly here, but I am going to show you what my buy sell list is. And this may be kind of freaky for some of you, but it is the way I kind of think about it. So I'm going to get rid of this, and then I'm going to share this screen here. All right, welcome to my world here. I'm going to, make this a little bit bigger. There we go. We'll do that so it'll clear up those little things. All right, so this is what I look at on a daily basis and make decisions on. And so at this point, I'm not looking to add anything new to my portfolio. Here's what I'm looking to buy. I'm looking to buy RTX, and I've got some target prices in here. Sometimes I'll fudge those a little bit if I really think my target price is a little too aggressive. So RTX, and I even have a target number of shares that I'm looking to add. So RTX, Air Products, Parker Hannifin. I don't think I'll ever be able to buy Parker Hannifin again, but I do have it on my list. Whirlpool actually is showing up in both places, and why is that? And I think Whirlpool is kind of going through this ebb and flow. So if it's down around $100, I'm going to be thinking about buying some shares. If it's up around I said 110, but that should actually be 120. Here, we'll change that. So if it's up around 120, I'm going to think about selling some shares. So I may or may not do that, but I have it on my list just so it's top of mind. Microsoft, if it gets down around 410, I'm probably going to pick up a few more shares. Hershey, looking for it to be down below 190, and I'll pick up some more shares of it. And then NextEra Energy, NEE, I'm looking for it to be down around 60. So and for to sell, I'm going to be looking at this should be 100. Looking at Stanley Black & Decker, getting rid of a few shares of it, 100 shares, which is not a ton of what I have in it. Altria Group is I'm going to begin to kind of wean off of Altria Group. As you guys know, I have a taxable account that I like to have some dividend income coming into, and Altria is perfect for that because it I guess my average dividend for that's a little over 9% yield, and so it works out well. But I may want to kind of wean myself off of that. I have about 1,000 shares, and so maybe sell off 10% of that. So begin maybe over the next 2 or 3 years to work myself out of the Altria investment. But I need to find something else to put it in, and I haven't worked that out yet. So T. Rowe Price is another one that I would look to sell around this 120 mark. Although I may not do that because I have seen some things that make me more bullish in the long run for T. Rowe Price. So anyway, I'm probably not going to sell anything, but I do have a list here that says, hey, if I want to sell something, these are the things that I would sell. I'm more focused on the buy side, and my top priority is RTX. And I would also say NEE is a top priority for me. And so why is that? First of all, I think RTX is undervalued. So let's go back to now. Let's don't do that. I think RTX is undervalued, but NEE, NextEra Energy, I think as a contrarian, I heard this on Morningstar's broadcast. If you didn't watch that today, go and pick that up. It was really good. And it talked about contrarian plays, and one of those is utilities. So why is that? Utilities are highly capitalized businesses. They need a lot of capital, which means not only does that capital come from shareholders, but it also comes from debt holders. They have a lot of debt. And so with higher interest rates, their cost of service for that debt, their debt service, is more expensive, and they're not getting that through their rates. So therefore, their earnings will take a bit of a hit, and investors then are driving the price down. So what I'm looking for is, once these interest rates begin to decline, and I think that's getting less and less likely this year. I think we may still have one or two opportunities for cuts, but originally I think they were planning on 6 or something like that. So, I think as these interest rates come down, then the value, the actual share price value of these utilities will get a bit of a boost. And that's what I'm looking for. I have a pretty big exposure for me in utilities. And that's what the plan is for that. So I removed myself. Sorry about that. I meant to remove that. So anyway, I forget who asked me that. Oh, so Tutomi had asked if there was anything I was thinking of adding. And I talked a lot about a bunch of stuff there. So hopefully that answered your question, Tutomi. Oh yeah, Kevin Mendoza says, I used to collect baseball cards, now I collect stocks. That's good, man. That's good. As long as it keeps you in the game, my friend, that's what matters. Let's see here. Stock collecting. So Jacob says, I'm investing in Big Bear AI stocks and it's under $3. I'm trying to look at it as a sale, but should I be worried about the stock getting delisted? I would say it would be concerning to me. I've never heard of them, first of all. So, this is all strictly opinion. It has nothing to do with any basis of research. But, $3 is pretty cheap. So I would say you're either going to have a winner and it's going to blow the socks off of everybody, or it's going to disappear because it is in this AI space. I remember back when the internet was brand new and there was a lot of startup companies that were going to take advantage of the internet and leverage, not take advantage of it, but leverage the internet and become the next big stock. And many of them didn't make it. Some of them did. And if you had the ones that did, you did well. But if you didn't, it wasn't so good. So I don't know anything about Big Bear. So, but $3, it's under $3. That would be a bit concerning to me. That's just my opinion, though. Don't trim your flowers and water your weeds. That's it. That's Peter Lynch's saying. I messed it all up, but that's exactly it, Lucas. Thanks for correcting that. So Kevin says he wasted a lot of money on baseball cards. At least my money goes towards something valuable now. That is absolutely true. So Jacob says this Big Bear is a good company to invest in, but he's afraid they won't be able to trade it if it gets too low. And that is true too. Or if so, it will be at a big loss. Okay, Greg says AbbVie's now up at 180, so that's fantastic. He's up about 25% in 7-ish months. That is awesome, my friend. Well done. Jim says Shaping could always put a stop loss on the CSL holding in the event it runs out, but cut the losses if it drops. Just a thought. Yeah, so that's a good point. I mean, if you guys have never done a stop loss, you can actually set a stop loss that would be good until canceled. And what that would do is it would say if the stock hits a certain price going down, it would initiate a trade. So if you're up 30% on the stock and you say, hey, if it goes down to where I'm up 25%, then it'll sell. Your gain would be 25% or so if they're able to catch it on the way down. And then you would kind of protect that margin. Yeah, Rinvoq. That's it, Michael. Thank you for that is the other drug for AbbVie, Rinvoq, and now I've forgotten the other one. Skyrizi is the other one. Kenji, if Trump is elected, China will add more Starbucks. That could be. I don't know. I just know it's getting crazy out there, man. Lucas says they say you don't know. They say you don't know. Well, tell them to kick rocks. And I think Starbucks will do well in China. Thank you for the insight. Oh, absolutely, my friend. All right. Let's see here. We are a bit over time, but I'm going to see if there's anything in here. Yeah, Suzuki Man owns PKG, and it has just been a bang up stock for him. It's something that I stayed away from because it was overvalued. Now it's way overvalued in my opinion, but sometimes value doesn't mean anything when you buy a stock. So well done, Suzuki Man. That is awesome. Let's see here. Is there anything? Is there anything else? We could stay on here for a long time, couldn't we? Maybe we should. Tutomi says some great companies on the watch list. Yeah, I appreciate that, man. I try. That's what I do. Jim trimmed a lot of holdings by entering holdings in seeking alpha and comparing against his peers. Yeah, that's a good way to do it as well. Duplicates eliminated, blah, blah, blah. So Jim also has John Deere on his watch list. That's good. He's got RTX, Air Products, and NEE common to the list, the buy list as well. Planning to add RTX and NEE during the month. So we are brothers from another mother, Jim, because that is exactly what I'm looking to do as well. Michael says, along with his Conestoga wagons. That is awesome. So Steve's asking, do I own Pfizer? I do not own Pfizer. I'm trying to think, the only pharmaceutical company that I own is Johnson & Johnson. And I really own it just because it is a steady Eddie thing. It's struggled here of late, but I don't let that deter me. It's there to kind of be a shock absorber in the portfolio. It's doing its job. So, oh, this is a good question. What is my favorite company from the stock market? Yeah, that's a good question. Let me consult my list here. See if I can jog my brain. Actually, I'll just go here to this portfolio. Because if it's my favorite, I own it. My internet must be slow tonight. All right, so my favorite out of all of my stocks right now is, well, I see three favorites here so far. All right, so my three favorites, are you ready? My three favorites are NextEra Energy, RTX, and Air Products. So those are my favorites. But I will tell you the one that I really enjoy the most, and maybe that is what you're asking here, and that's Parker Hannifin. Parker Hannifin has just done so wonderfully in the portfolio, and it is one of the few stocks that I have had the guts to chase upward, and it has done really well. All right, so let's see here. I think that's going to be it. Yeah, Greg's already. Greg knows me better than I know myself. So Parker Hannifin is absolutely the right answer to that. Yeah, Michael's right. It's kind of like asking what's your favorite child. Which one is your favorite child? You know you have one. You just don't want to admit it, right? So, but anyway, with that, guys, I'm going to get off of here. I really enjoy our time together. Thanks for joining, and we will see you next week. And again, I'm going to do what I think Tutomi suggested of putting, maybe it wasn't Tutomi, but anyway, somebody suggested pinning a comment with the Discord link. And there's somebody that had trouble getting in. I think it was Jim. So Jim, somehow connect with me and we will try and figure that out. I'd love to have you on the Discord. So, hey, with that, I'm going to see you guys on the next one.